Hey y'all, how y'all doing? Y'all, it has been so long. Ain't that how I always start off? I have missed y'all. I pray that y'all have been elevating and pressing on in spite of what life has been throwing your way. God has been blessing me. That ain't nothing new because He bless everybody, right? But you got to tell it. You can't just hold it to yourself. So God has been blessing me, but in the midst of those blessings, there are still many adjustments that I'm having to make. God blessed me with a permanent position on my job, which I'm forever grateful for. However, in my old position, I could blog while I was working. I could write while I was working. I could draft podcast episodes while I was working. It really did not require me to really think. All I had to do is perform and show up. Really, I had like flexible hours. Some days I could start late. And if y'all been listening to my podcast episodes, you'll remember that there were some days where I had to work and I could start early. But in my new position, I am required to think in order to produce and perform. So whereas before I could do two things at one time in my old position, in my current position, it requires my undivided attention. So every day now I work from 8 to 5 or a little bit later, and then it's straight to pick up little Annie. So I'm definitely not complaining, but I'm explaining to y'all why I haven't been able to get up here as much as I'd like in the past month or so. But nonetheless, here it is. It's about 9 o'clock here. It's a Sunday night, a beautiful night here in New Bern, North Carolina, and I don't want to start another week without getting up here and posting an episode for y'all. So nonetheless, on tonight here I am. I ask that you bear with me as I get adjusted to my new work schedule and all the things that I'm doing. Still working part-time, still working on side projects, still operating online stores, just the things that I'm doing. So bear with me as I'm in this stage of my life where I have so many things going on at one time. Let's jump right on into this thing. It's late and I had little Annie all day, so I don't know how long I'm gonna be able to talk uninterrupted. So let me go ahead and get this thing out now. Tonight I want to talk with y'all about the boomerang effect. The topic of tonight's podcast episode is called the boomerang effect. Turning your Bibles with me to Psalms, the 7th chapter, and the 14th through the 16th verses. I'm reading tonight from the NIV version, and it reads, "Whoever is pregnant with evil conceives trouble and gives birth to disillusionment. Whoever digs a hole and scoops it out falls into the pit they have made. The trouble they cause recoils on them. Their violence comes down on their own heads." I'm going to spin that back. Psalms, the 7th chapter, the 14th through the 16th verses. I'm reading from the NIV tonight, and it reads, "Whoever is pregnant with evil conceives trouble and gives birth to disillusionment. Whoever digs a hole and scoops it out falls into the pit they have made. The trouble they cause recoils on them. Their violence comes down on their own heads." The boomerang effect, okay? Have y'all ever heard of the boomerang effect? I'm sure y'all have heard of it. For those who haven't, you're probably trying to figure out what is the boomerang effect. It is defined as a situation in which a persuasive message produces attitude change in the direction opposite of that intended. I'm gonna spin that back. The boomerang effect. It is defined as a situation in which a persuasive message produces attitude change in the direction opposite of that intended. Have y'all ever seen someone throw a boomerang? Well, they got different kinds of boomerangs, but the first one I want to talk about, have y'all ever seen someone throw what they call a returning boomerang? When someone throws a returning boomerang with just the right environment, with just the right breeze, if you get it just right, when you throw a returning boomerang, it goes out and comes back. And if you're lucky or if you're extremely skilled, you can actually get it to come right back to you so you can catch it with your hands. It's not like when you throw a ball and it goes out your hand, never to return unless somebody throw it back to you. No, it's not like that. When you get it just right with a returning boomerang, you throw that thing out there and it comes right back. You throw it out there, and if it's a returning boomerang, you're expecting it to come back. You're waiting in anticipation for it to return to you. However, there are also non-returning boomerangs that you throw out and they don't come back to you. When you throw a non-returning boomerang, you're not expecting it to come back. You're not eagerly waiting for it to come back to you. Instead, you're anxiously watching and waiting to see where it lands. You're waiting to see if it went where you wanted it to go. You might even be waiting to see if it actually hit a target, right? When you throw a returning boomerang and you're expecting for it to come back to you, you got your guard up. Your goal is to watch that thing going and coming back so you can either catch it to minimize danger to yourself or so you can get yourself right to duck and dodge in the case that you can't catch it. You don't want it to hit you. You don't want to throw that thing out there only for it to return to you and hurt you. That's why you keep the eagle eye after you throw a returning boomerang, because you are in expectation for it to come back to you. When you throw that non-returning boomerang, you're a lot more lax. Why? Because when you throw that thing out there, you don't have to worry about it coming back to you. You put it out there, but you can relax a little bit because it can hit whatever it wants. It can cause whatever damage it may, but you can sit back after you throw it because you have no expectation of it coming back to you. There's no fear of it hurting you. So I'm using boomerangs, right, to prove a point, yes. But how do we see the boomerang effect in life? Like, what are some of the ways that we see the boomerang effect in action every day in our lives? I mean, think about it. How many people have you seen throw dirt out there and then they act like they'll never see it again? See, that's the trick of the enemy that I want to talk to y'all about tonight, because the enemy wants you to believe that you can sin. He wants you to believe that you can slander. He wants you to believe that you can defame. He wants you to believe that you can be malicious and hateful and it won't come back to you. The enemy wants you to believe that you can do wrong and get away scot-free. He wants you to believe that when you sin and do wrong, it's like a non-returning boomerang. He wants you to get comfortable in sin, and he wants you to relax in wrongdoing. He wants you to believe that you won't see those things again. But that's not so, and the devil is the biggest liar. Be ye not deceived. Sin comes with a cost, and the wages of sin is death. If you sin and do wrong, it's coming back. And how might it come back? You might be wondering. It often comes back in the form of the boomerang effect. When you sin and you do wrong, you are persuaded that you won't see it again. However, in the final analysis, the sin and the wrong that you do that you think is non-returning, it actually produces attitude change in the direction opposite of what you intended. You thought it was non-returning and you thought it was going to hit somebody else. And when it was all said and done, it ended up coming back in the direction opposite of what you intended, and it ends up hitting you. You might call yourself playing somebody else, but you're going to end up playing yourself. You call yourself disrespecting other folks, and you don't even realize that in doing so, it's making people lose respect for you. You call yourself belittling someone, and little do you know, you're making yourself look smaller and smaller by the day. And of course, this thing go both ways. If you have been seemingly on the receiving end of wrongdoings, if you've been the one getting belittled, if you've been the one being disrespected, for you, the boomerang effect works in your favor. How so, you might be asking? Let me tell you how. Whoever is pregnant with evil conceives trouble and gives birth to disillusionment. Whoever digs a hole and scoops it out falls into the pit they have made. The trouble they cause recoils on them. Their violence comes down on their own heads. You may not always be around to see it, but just like everything else in the Bible that you believe, you can bet your bottom dollar on this, and you can confidently believe this too. The wrong that folks have done to you, the wrong that folks have said about you, they've got a real crafty, persuasive message and explanation as to why you deserve it. But what they fail to remember is sin and doing wrong is a returning boomerang. And what they intended for your bad is going to work in the direction opposite of what it was intended. For we know that all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and who are called according to his purpose. They meant it for your bad, but it's working for your good. The bad they threw out there for you, good news for you is it's a returning boomerang, and it's coming right back at them. The trouble they caused recoils on them, and the violence they inflicted on you will come right back down upon their own heads. I love y'all. Y'all know that as soon as I can, I'll be right back on with y'all. always as soon as possible. I love y'all. I wanted to get up here tonight and drop y'all that quick word. I did not want to start another week without getting up here and giving y'all a word. I love y'all. I know that wasn't a long word, but hopefully for somebody that's going to be a strong word and you can spin it back a few times and get something that's going to bless you. I love y'all, and I'll talk to y'all real soon. Thanks for listening to me. I'm Grace Amber.